When you write a personal narrative, you share a story from your life for a specific reason. You might want to make your reader laugh, or you might want to make them think, but whatever you choose, you want to think about, what impact am I trying to make? We're going to play a game that will help you visualize some of the important moments from your life and start to think about those moments of high emotion. Finding those moments, whether they're embarrassing or funny or touching or meaningful, any of those moments that might be really valuable for you to share as a story in a personal narrative. And then at the end of our time together, after our exercise, we will talk about how you might go about choosing the just right moment for your Stone Soup entry. The best way to play this game is to stand up and move around as you picture your ideas in your mind. However, if you are in a space where you cannot do that, you can actually just put your head down on your desk or close your eyes and imagine as we go through this exercise. So, if you are in a space where you can stand up, I want you to stand up and shake out a hand, shake out another hand, shake out your shoulders, get yourself kind of loose, and then start to walk around in your space. And as you're walking, I want you to imagine that you're walking into a forest. Picture the trees rising up around you and the feeling of the air on your skin. Imagine what the wind sounds like blowing through the leaves. And think about what you might smell in the forest. Maybe it's a fall day and you can smell the sun-baked raspberries because it's still a little bit warm. The air is sweet. And as you're walking into the forest, deeper and deeper, you start to get this sense of excitement. You think something might be around the corner. You're not sure what to expect, but you just have this feeling something interesting is coming. And as you round a corner, you see a tall, old house. And you have a feeling that this place, even though it looks a little bit abandoned, belongs to you somehow, and you're not sure why, but you have no fear about just turning the handle and walking through the door, and you find yourself in a wide entry space. And you decide that you will walk up the stairs that you see. So you go up, up, up in the house, and up even farther, all the way to the top floor. And when you get to the top floor, you see that there is a little hatch. So you pull open the hatch and a ladder slides down, and you decide you will climb up. So you climb up the ladder and you find yourself in a beautiful, well-lit, airy space. But this space is filled with interesting objects. As you look around, you see that the objects in this space, you might call it an attic, these objects look like they belong to you. In fact, you're curious, so you go and you open up the first box. And as you look inside, you see, yes, these are books that belong to you. So you take out some of these books and you remember reading them when you were maybe a couple years younger. And you remember where you were when you read that one book. Maybe it was summertime and you were sitting on a beach blanket near the ocean. Maybe this is a book that you wanted to read so badly that you kept it in your desk and you snuck peeks at it during math class. So I want you to take a look at what's in that box. And then once you're finished, I want you to stand up and look around the room. You realize that this space is filled with objects that are from your life. And so you decide that you want to explore a little bit. So the next thing you do is you turn to the large wardrobe that you see and you open it up, and inside you see different types of clothing. Pick one article of clothing that you see. It might be a snowsuit, or it might be a certain baseball cap. Take that article of clothing off the hanger, hold it in your hands, and remember a moment when you actually wore this particular object of clothing. Not just any moment. I want you to choose a moment when you really had a strong emotion. It might have been happiness, it might have been embarrassment, it might have been surprise. Let's think about that moment when you were wearing that article of clothing. Let's think about what happened in the beginning. Where were you and what were you doing? Now, hopefully you can picture that. I want you now to think about the middle of that moment, maybe the high point, the point when you had that really strong emotion, whether it was happiness or surprise. Think about what was happening then. And now let's picture the end of this experience. How did it turn out? Before we hang this article of clothing back up, I want you to just run through any other details you think make this moment particularly special. Next, we're going to look for some place in this attic where you have a collection of photos. You might have a bulletin board, or there might be a photo album. Go find whatever that object is and take a moment to just flip through in your mind's eye these images. What sorts of pictures do you see from your life? And as you're looking through, I want you to look for moments of high emotion, maybe a moment when you felt proud. Make sure this moment is different than the last one that you just explored. And let's think about the beginning. Where were you when this moment started, and what were you physically doing with your body? Then move yourself into the middle of the moment and think about what that was like. What decision did you make, or what action did you move forward with? And then think about how the moment ended. Did you make a decision? Did you take some kind of action? Just like before, I want you to take a moment and tuck any important details away so that you don't forget them. All right, we've found 2 moments. We found the article of clothing, we found an image. Now I want you to look around your space and find another object. Maybe you see an object that reminds you of a time when you learned something important. Many times when we look back at stories in our lives, we remember feeling a strong emotion, maybe even a strong negative emotion, but we learned something from it. Maybe we learned to laugh at ourselves. Maybe we learned that it's okay to make mistakes. Those kinds of stories are great seeds for personal narratives because they aren't stories that we're telling for no apparent reason. We're telling them because they were meaningful and important and they changed us in some way. I want you to find that other object, an object that reminds you of something you learned in your life. And I want you to imagine picking that object up, holding it in your hands, and think about that story. What happened in the beginning of that moment? How did this experience start? And then in the middle, what happened? And what happened in the end? As you think about your final details that you want to tuck away for this memory, I want you to really think about those details that help us to truly understand why this moment is meaningful to you. And once you've tucked those ideas away, come on back and let's talk quickly about how you might choose a story to tell as your personal narrative. Remember, we were talking about wanting to choose a story that means something to you.